There is a specific kind of frustration almost everyone knows. The same small mistake, again and again. Not a catastrophic failure, a minor oversight that keeps returning inside daily routine. You correct it, it disappears briefly, then resurfaces days later. Most people call this lack of focus or weak discipline. Usually, the mistake is not the problem. The system producing it is. The trap begins with misdirection. We focus on the isolated error. Where did I go wrong this time? That question keeps the cycle alive. The mistake gets treated like a random anomaly requiring more attention or effort. Meanwhile, the workflow underneath stays fragile. Most personal systems are optimized for speed, not resilience. Small gaps get tolerated because they seem manageable, but uncontained errors repeat by design. The individual is not failing, the process is. This is where most people freeze. But at Solvers Studio, we go to our toolkit, the Solvers 6. The tool here is Pattern Mapping Insight. Pattern mapping treats repetition as structural evidence. We stop analyzing isolated failures. We map the full sequence: trigger, error, consequence, repeat. The question changes. Not why did this happen, but what pattern guarantees this will happen again? That shift creates real insight. First, map the sequence clearly. Study the last few failures. When did they happen? Under what conditions? What surrounded them? A missed form submission may always happen late Friday afternoon. That matters. Low energy, split attention, reduced capacity. The failure stops looking random. It starts looking predictable. Next, identify the trigger and the gap. The trigger is the event before the mistake. The gap is the missing safeguard allowing the mistake through. A distraction may trigger the error, but the deeper issue is the absence of a containment mechanism. The system assumes perfect attention. That assumption is the flaw. The problem is not distraction. The problem is fragility. Finally, redesign the structure around the insight. Insert protection at the point of failure, not through future willpower, through system design. If the issue is missing a final review, create a forced review checkpoint before submission. The goal is not managing symptoms, it is removing the structural vulnerability producing them. That is how repetition breaks. Repeated mistakes are rarely isolated events. They are structural signals. Pattern mapping insight changes the response. Map a repeating sequence, identify the trigger and the gap, redesign the structure around the weakness. The objective is not better attention, it is stronger systems. This appears constantly in reporting workflows. An analyst misses the same data point every week. Management blames focus. Pattern mapping reveals something deeper. The oversight always appears during a fragile manual merge step. That is the real vulnerability. The redesign is not try harder, it is eliminating the unstable step entirely through automation. The failure disappears because the structure changed. A repeated mistake is not just frustration, it is information, a signal that the structure underneath the action is unstable. Do not treat recurring failure like an anomaly, treat it like a pattern. That shift changes everything. The problem stops being personal and becomes solvable.